Good evening, wanderer. Slip off the cloak of your busy day and step with me into the quiet margins of 18th century Edo, the city we will one day call Tokyo. It is the year of the horse, 1786 by later calendars, yet dates matter little once twilight gathers. What matters is softness, rice paper screens breathing lamplight, sandalwood smoke exhaling from braziers, the hush just before street vendors fold their awnings. We stand at the edge of the hour when the sun has set, but night has not yet claimed the rooftops. The sky above the Yoshiwara Pleasure District blushes faint persimmon. The crest of nearby Mount Atago is already draped in ink. A single fire tower bell tolls, low, unhurried, signaling that shutters may close and lanterns may be kindled. With that bell as our guide, we will drift eastward, following tiny pools of light as they bloom, one by one, across the great shogunal capital. Let your breathing slow to match the deliberate pace of Geta on packed earth. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3. The evening stretches ahead like a silk scroll waiting for calm brushstrokes. We begin where commerce ends and repose begins. Step once more. The lamps are lighting.
Chapter 1. Late afternoon at Nihonbashi. The great wooden arch of Nihonbashi, Japan Bridge, straddles the Nihon River like a patient ox bowed beneath sacks of grain. Its timbers smell of river damp and old pine pitch. Its planks sing quietly under every sandal, a hollow note that fades into watery echoes below. By daylight, this bridge is the heartbeat of Edo. Messengers sprinting, fishmongers hawking sea bream still twitching, porters bent double with rice bales branded by daimyo crests. But now shops have begun their slow retreat into evening. A lacquered shop sign creaks as it is swung inward. Paper merchants sweep stray fibers from the threshold. Each bristle of the broom whispers against cedar boards. On the quay, a boatman counts the final coins of the day, copper mon rattling like tiny chimes before disappearing into his sleeve. A traveling monk pauses to bow toward the vanishing sun, palm gong silent so as not to disturb dozing sparrows tucked beneath eaves. We stroll the bridge's length. To our right, water reflects the dimming coral sky. To our left, the first lantern flares, a blossom of umber and cream. Its paper skin bears a black kanji, on, quiet, painted in strokes as thick as thumbprints. The lantern's glow flickers across the underside of the bridge rail, sketching trembling gold upon weathered grain. You might notice how the air cools upon exhale, how the faintest scent of soy and bonito drifts from a noodle stall shuttering for night. On the river stairs, an old woman rinses baskets used for holding clams. Each dip of bamboo ribs releases concentric ripples. She tips her head, regards the first pale star kindling east. The moment is so small it could vanish unremarked, yet it belongs to the unbroken tapestry of city twilight, and thus we linger a little longer. With one final sweep of the bridge rail, we tuck this scene away, like a bookmark scented faintly with river wind, and move on.
Chapter 2. Sunset on the Sumida. If Nihonbashi is Edo's heart, The Sumida River is its breathing. Wide, glass-skinned, it snakes through the low wards, carrying lumber from the upper Tone Basin and gossip from every bend. We choose the western bank near Ryogoku, where broad steps invite evening sitters. Here, citizens gather for the nightly kawa asobi, river enjoyment, though enjoyment is a mild, contemplative affair. A young samurai, sword tucked away for peace hours, leans on the railing with elbows matching its curve. He practices calligraphy in air, fingertip tracing invisible characters against the backdrop of dying light. Nearby, two children flick pebbles. Each pebble lands with a muffled chopon, sending faint rings across the crimson reflection of the sky. The sun kisses the horizon. Its disk flattens, deepens, slips, like a persimmon sweet set upon a lacquer tray, then quietly removed. Shadows migrate up wooden pilings, boat silhouettes drift, hulls nudging one another with hollow knocks. A white egret lifts, wings brushing rose-gold water. The tips of its feathers catch the last direct sun, then fade to pearl. Breathing here is easy. Inhale river cool, exhale the day's tumble of thought. A vendor glides past, balancing trays of sweet dango skewers. His voice is scarcely louder than a sigh. Kusadango, warm kusadango. Steam wreathes the skewers, carrying the green whiff of mugwort and melted sugar. He is neither hurried nor idle, only precisely in rhythm with sunset. At the moment the sun fully surrenders, a drum thuds from across the water, one beat to mark curfew's approach. In response, boatmen strike flint against pine knots, sparks arc, oils flare, and river lanterns awaken. Some swing from prow poles, others bob on float trays shaped like lotus leaves. Their reflections dance twin fire on the Sumida surface, tiny galaxies swimming beneath egret's feet. When the final plum tint had bled from sky to river, we gather our sleeves, bow to the silent samurai, and follow a thread of lantern light into the warren of Honjo.
Chapter 3. Alleys of Honjo. Lanterns afloat. Honjo's streets twist like cords of braided straw, narrow enough that two carts must negotiate with nods and gravel crunch to pass. During daylight, the district bustles with dye works and paper makers, vats steaming with indigo, sheets bleaching under winter sun. At night, steam still drifts, but workers' laughter has dwindled to sleepy murmurs. Tonight, we notice the dye vats first. They sit cooling, surfaces filmed with delicate skins of blue so deep it seems to absorb the faint lamp glow rather than reflect it. Lanterns line the alley in mismatched ranks. Some are new, their paper crisp, design crisp chrysanthemum outlines. Some sag, patched with spare shoji scraps, paint bleeding outward like ink in rain. Every third door bears a small slip of wood, senjafuda, naming occupant and trade. We read them softly as we pass. Okada, the comb maker. Tatsuya, the indigo dyer. Kiku, the shamisen tutor. Tiny biographies whispered in cedar grain. Down one lane, a granny sets a saucer of rice gruel by her threshold for Zajiki Warashi, the house spirit noted for knocking at tatami edges. She bows to empty air, smiles, and retreats. The glow from her doorway paints half the lane in honey, the other half in quiet shadow. A paper screen door slides. Two apprentices step out, carrying a square cedar pail. Inside float 50 candle cups, each the size of a coin, flames trembling. They kneel by a runoff canal that threads behind dye houses. One by one, they set the tiny cups upon water. The candles drift, each a shy firefly, sliding beneath footbridges, edging past wash tubs. They will burn until wax exhausts, then tip, extinguished with a hiss so soft it hums below the threshold of sleep. These nagashidoro, floating lamps, are humble neighbors to the river's grand lotus lanterns, yet their small pilgrimage slows the alley's pulse, persuading every breath to draw longer. We follow. A breeze shifts. Camphor wood mingles with distant miso soup. Overhead, laundry lines ripple, plain indigo yukata, still wet, brushing one another like moth wings. The apprentices' lanterns disappear beneath a plank bridge. We pause. Listen. Water trickles. Charcoal pops in a brazier behind paper walls. A cat yawns. In such places, silence is not absence, but a quilt sewn from tiny sonic threads. The chime marks the point where Honjo's labyrinth gives way to an open square. There, a tea house hums with subdued chatter. Follow the steam curl. Supper awaits.
Chapter 4. Teahouse Supper. Soft shamisen. A Norin curtain, dyed persimmon. Parts to reveal low lamps swimming in aromatic haze. Floors gleam black with aged lacquer. Cushions of dark plum linen circle squat cedar tables. A kettle simmers upon a brazier ringed with ash. Its bronze lid mattles twice, sounding like twin syllables. Yuda, hot water. We unlace sandals, slide onto a cushion. The tatami beneath carries faint echo of sun, woven rush warming calves gently. A young hostess kneels, her knees scarcely touch floor, motion feathered by practice, and pours hojicha, the roasted tea's aroma, nut, straw, faint caramel, nods to barley and late harvest. She places near our elbow a dish of agadashi nasu, eggplant cubes simmered in dashi, topped with snowdrift of grated daikon. The broth steams, surface glimmering lantern reflections. Each bite yields gentle resistance, then melts, leaving only warmth and soft salt on tongue. Outside, the watchman taps wooden clappers once, twice, signaling second quarter to curfew. Inside, no one startles. Time here is measured by the length of tea's cooling, by the speed of candle wicks sinking. From the alcove comes a hush of shamisen, 3 strings stroked with a plectrum of tortoise shell, notes pitched low, vibrato minimal. The melody walks as softly as a cat along veranda boards. It tells no story, stirs no passion. It is content to exist like a half-remembered dream. Conversation around us mirrored. Merchants compare cedar crate prices in tones as mild as evening rain. An elderly couple share pickled plum, murmuring over each seed's smoothness. The hostess returns with the final plate, tamagoyaki, rolled in sweet soy, color of dawn. She sets it down and bows, sleeves whispering. A single lantern hangs behind her, painting a halo on rice paper wall. Its flame leans whenever door curtains swell with breeze. Somewhere deep in the tea house, someone laughs,
One breath, short, quickly hushed by a friend's giggle. The moment passes like a ripple across sake. We rise, pay with string of round coins. The hostess thanks us with a phrase no louder than a moth's wing beat. We bow, step back onto night-cool earth, and find the sky now deep as ink ground on Suzuri stone. Ahead, the Sumida shimmers again, this time owning the moon.
Chapter 5. Night Boats and Moon-Mirrored Water. The Sumida lies open now, like a band of unpolished obsidian, its blackness broken only by wavering points of lantern gold. These are the yakitabune, roofed pleasure barges, gliding at the speed of idle conversation. Their paper windows glow muted saffron. Inside, silhouettes of guests sit knee-folded around low trays, lifting porcelain cups with languid care. No raucous song escapes, only the occasional clink of rim on rim, soft as porcelain windbells in midsummer. We board a small hire skiff at a pine-creaking pier. The boatman, face lost beneath a torn reed hat, bows without words and pushes off, iron-shod pole kissing riverbed with a muffled thok. The hull sighs forward, water parts and reunites in liquid whispers. A single oil cup near the prow casts sufficient glow to find one's own hands, no more. The rest of the world is a charcoal wash, tinged silver, where the moon writes her long, trembling calligraphy across the current. Breathe here. The river exudes a faint salt suggestion carried from Edo Bay. It mingles with cedar pitch and the ghost of grilled eel drifting from shore. Overhead, late autumn constellations tattoo the heavens. Orion's belt, known locally as Suzumiboshi, the drum stars, while the knife-thin moon holds just enough light to carve their outlines. Ahead, a yakitabune crosses our path. A shamisen note slips from a half-open shoji, joins the river wind, and is gone. Inside, we glimpse a geisha's sleeve, silk-sprayed with tiny chrysanthemum petals, fluttering as she serves sake. Our boatman slows to yield. 2 lanterns hung at the barge's stern dangle low enough to kiss the water. Their reflections stretch, break, merge. For one heartbeat, flame and image align so perfectly that real and mirrored become indistinguishable. We drift on. A heron stands statue still atop a mooring post, feathers silvered. Its yellow eye holds the patience of a monk studying sutras. At the next bend, the river narrows. Willow branches dip, trailing tips that scribble circles in the black mirror. They release a faint green scent despite the season, memory of summer stored in twig marrow. The boatman speaks at last, voice sanded by tide years. Tsukiyakari wa hifu made shimikomimasu. Moonlight soaks to the skin. His words fall into stillness like a pebble, sending barely a ripple through the hush. We nod, though he cannot see, and allow their truth to settle. A small shrine emerges on the starboard bank, just a stone plinth and a weather-softened fox guardian. 2 votive candles flicker beside a thimble of sake left by passing bargemen. Our guide pulls nearer, pauses, and bows. We follow suit, hands together, letting silent gratitude flow outward like incense smoke. Minutes or perhaps moons pass. Time distends on water. At last, faint temple drums from the distant Asakusa precinct announce third watch, 2 deep booms, languorous as though the night itself drums a heartbeat. The boatman angles toward a landing of flat stones. We disembark. Our feet find solid earth that feels briefly unreal after the river's cradle. The skiff pushes off again, its glow shrinking to an ember, then vanishing behind a sigh of rushes. We stand amid reeds, breathing river-cooled air,
until pulse and night synchronize. One last glance, the Sumida bears the moon forward, ever onward. A silent barge of light, no lookout needs steer.
Chapter 6. Poet's Garden, Crickets in the Moss. A gravel path, nearly invisible, leads from the landing into a pocket garden kept by an aging haikai poet of modest repute. He never bars his gate. Instead, a slatted bamboo screen implies courtesy. Lift, enter, replace. We comply. The bamboo's weight surprisingly light, humility carved into design. Inside, lanterns rest on granite plinths carved to resemble cloud banks. Their flames wear ceramic shades pierced by crescent apertures, casting lunar motifs upon ground and leaf. The garden itself is small as a teacup, yet contains multitudes. Stepping stones threaded among clumps of moss like dark islands in a verdant sea. A basin of still water reflecting a wedge of sky, and 3 dwarf maples whose leaves glow ember red against night's ink. The poet kneels near a brazier of charcoal, robe the color of damp parchment. He tends incense, shredded aloes wood that curls upward in gray ribbons, twisting like cursive tightened by sleepiness. He hears us, but leaves silence intact, recognizing the sanctity of hush. Crickets pulse from the moss. Their rhythm is neither hurried nor languid, just steady, like breath. Each stridulation seems to raise tiny ripples in the very air, and the lantern light shivers in answer. Nearby, a stone tsukubai catches drip water from a bamboo spout. Every few seconds, the pipe knocks hollowly against a fulcrum rock, shishi odoshi, deer scarer, its sound simultaneously startling and soothing, a heartbeat for the garden. We sit on a cedar veranda overlooking the moss. The wood retains the day's residual warmth, now releasing it as a faint, pleasant exhale against calves. The poet pours watered sake into flat saucers. Surface tension domes each pour to mirror the moon. He raises his cup, inhales more than he drinks, then sets it beside a pile of small blank cards. A writing brush lies ready, bristles poised like a sleeping dragonfly. His voice is a reed flute when it finally arrives. Summer speaks by cicada. Autumn speaks by wind. But winter. He lets the sentence fall open-ended, inviting completion by any willing ear. Perhaps the answer is silence, perhaps crackling hearth, perhaps footfalls on frost. He will not dictate. Instead, he lifts the brush, inks a single kanji, ma, the space between things, and permits the ink to bleed, feathering edges like distant hills in morning fog. A teapot clicks on the brazier. Steam ghosts upward, sweetened faintly by dry persimmon slices simmering with the water. The scent tickles nostrils, conjures a memory of childhood autumns when sugared fruit hung from porch rafters. We drink. The tea is barely sweet, a whisper of flavor like light through shoji. Crickets hush suddenly, as if cued. A breeze rustles dwarf maple leaves into a brief ovation. Lantern light dims, oil nearly spent. The poet replaces the wick,
flame swelling then subsiding to steady glow. He offers a final bow so shallow it could be a ripple in fabric. We return it and stand, soles brushing veranda wood like brushes across paper, stroke up, stroke away. Beyond the gate, the gravel path continues toward a district where watchmen roam. Behind us, ink-red maple leaves drift onto moss, each landing silent, each leaf a rogue syllable of an unfinished poem.
Chapter 7. Curfew Hour and Watchman's Clappers. Curfew begins when the Yomawari, night watchmen, patrol with wooden hyoshigi clappers, knocking a rhythm older than the city walls. Katakon, katakon. Two short, one long. Warning, assurance, heartbeat. The sound threads through alleys like a spindle pulling night's silk tight. We turn into a merchant lane where lattice shop fronts have shuttered, their signage hangs inert, lacquer swallowing lantern gleam. The air smells of cooling iron from smithies now dark, mingled with sweet residue of bean paste buns baked hours ago. A watchman rounds the corner, lantern caged in bamboo, clappers in calloused hand. His straw cloak rustles, shedding faint droplets from an earlier mist. He nods, barely lifting chin, then passes, leaving echoes that bounce between walls until they soften into distance. We pace slows. Footfalls find sync with retreating katakon. Overhead, crows roost along tiled ridges, their shapes lumps of deeper shadow. Occasionally, one fluffs feathers, sending a whisper of slate chips to slide down roof incline. We pause beside a kura storehouse, plaster walls moon pale, iron fittings dark as ink sticks. A candle inside draws silhouettes of stacked bales, grains safe against both thief and flame. Through the iron lattice we catch scents of dried seaweed and barley. Security is palpable. Thick walls, barred doors, night patrol. It seeps outward, coaxing shoulders to lower. Further on, a narrow gap opens into a pocket courtyard where an andon lamp flickers. Beneath it, a mother kneels, adjusting a quilt over a child sleeping on a veranda bench, perhaps the interior air too warm. Her fingertips brush the child's cheek. The child murmurs, shifts, returns to stillness. The mother straightens, gazes skyward as though counting stars, then slides shoji closed with a sigh soft as tissue. The andon remains, custodian of doorway dreams. We resume. At a crossroads, a pair of stray dogs nose through a rice bran heap, tails twitching listlessly. They regard us, decide we are neither threat nor meal, and return to foraging. The watchman's clappers echo anew from an opposite lane, confirming direction. As they near, we feel curfew not as admonition, but as lullaby, an acoustic quilt tucking city to rest. He appears, younger than the first, eyes bright above kerchief mask. He strikes clappers twice short, once long, then calls in low voice, "Hino-yojin, Hino-yojin." Guard against fire, guard against fire. Old warning, vital in a city of wood and paper. His breath ghosts in lantern light. We bow. He nods and continues, sound dwindling like receding tide. A final stretch leads to a covered passage lined with sake barrels awaiting morning delivery. Their rope bindings give off straw aroma. Lids bear inked mons of distant brewers. We sit briefly on an upturned keg. The wood holds lingering warmth, and through the bunghole wafts faint sharpness of fermenting rice, a quiet heartbeat inside each cask, alive though unseen. Far off, temple bell strikes once, deep bronze tone laying upon the night like a blanket. Fourth watch. We rise, stretching legs that feel softened, heavy, as if sculpted from sleep itself. The path ahead narrows towards residential blocks, where paper eaves will soon test the patience of a coming rain.
Chapter 8. Midnight Rain on Paper Eaves. A hush settles so deep that even the watchman's clappers withdraw, tucked beneath straw cloaks while their owners rest in guardhouse alcoves. Lanterns, starved of oil, gutter to pinpoints, then wink out. In the soft vacuum that follows, night seems complete, until a single drop of rain taps the lip of a bronzed gutter. Tick. It pauses, as though listening to its own echo, then gathers courage. Tick, tick. 3 more beads strike, stitching a thread across the silence. Within a minute, the sky opens its small purse of water, emptying coins of silver onto tiled rooftops, onto bamboo fences, onto the broad leaves of persimmon trees still clinging stubbornly to fruit. The first scent is petrichor, dust waking with delight, followed by cedar resin blooming from verandas, and a faint memory of indigo dye rising where wetness reaches shutter cracks. The rain is gentle, a silk thread rather than a rope, yet every surface sings its own part. Shingles contribute a rounded patter, paper eaves a papery hush, stone basins a hollow plunk, and the Sumida far downstream answers with a muted thrumming, like a drum wrapped in cloth. We accept the invitation of a narrow Nagaya row house, whose owner, a candlemaker sleeping soundly, has left the walkway open. The overhanging roof allows us to sit on lacquered step-boards just inside the line of falling water. We draw knees up, cloak hems folded neatly, and listen as droplets strike the edge of the wooden gutter, then cascade in a sparkling sheet no thicker than rice paper. In the darkness beyond, the world blurs into tonal shapes. A roof ridge silhouette, a lantern post now unlit, the faint reflection of moonlight diffused beyond rain veils. Low cloud embraces the city, muffling distant dog barks until they blend with dripping eaves into a single, slow heartbeat. A candle nub left on a sill still holds a coal of red. Each random gust teases it into brief glow before it subsides again to black. We warm fingertips above the ember, noting the paradox of heat nested in near ashes, proof that endings contain embers of beginning as dawn sleeps within midnight. Somewhere beyond the row house wall, a bamboo shoji door slides and a child's murmur escapes. A soft query, half dream, half worry. A parent's voice answers, low and soothing, no words discernible. The door closes. The rain answers for both of them, adding a steadier rhythm, and the child's murmur floats no more. Time drifts, detached from measurement. Breath slows. Rain softens further, transforming to a mist that brushes wooden planks like a silk sleeve across cheek. The street glistens, lantern stakes mirrored in puddles, as though erect but inverted, a phantom city underfoot. A single cicada, fooled by the warmth, trills from a pine bough, then falls silent when the next cool draft scolds its optimism. Crickets return to dominion, their chorus adjusted to the key of water.
At the apex of stillness, a copper chime suspended from a neighbor's eave pivots, releasing one clear note, kin, then agrees to sleep. When the rain finally tires, it withdraws step by step, leaving a million beads on roof edges, each preparing its own reluctant descent. Drips persist, farther apart now. Tack, pause, tack. The air smells rinsed, colors of night more saturated despite scant light. A cloud slides east, bearing a sliver of moon that ignites each droplet into a brief diamond before it shivers free. We stand, joints murmuring approval at the stretch, and bow toward the quiet house in thanks for its borrowed shelter. The street is empty, washed and reflective. Footfalls meet their mirror selves upon wet earth. Ahead, the faintest gray brushes the eastern sky, promise that the first rooster has begun to stir beneath coop rafters.
Chapter 9. First Rooster, Pale Lantern of Dawn. Before sight there is scent, wood smoke, coaxed from last night's embers, sharpened by damp ash, followed by miso beginning to warm in a clay pot, and the faint vegetal sweetness of newly rinsed rice awaiting steam. Then, faint but resolute, the rooster's crow lifts over rooftops, rough, proud, far from melodious, yet wholly convincing. It calls again, and another voice answers from 2 streets south, then another from some coop beyond the river. Each crow tallies a stroke on the ledger of dawn, heralding a sun not yet risen, but contractually obliged. Street lanterns, relit at dusk, now hang spent and soot-smudged. Their paper surfaces absorb the earliest pallor, washing westward, turning from ochre to pale sand. We pass beneath them, noting dew collecting along bamboo ribs before dropping to sizzle on still warm wick ends. A temple bell, kinder than the curfew gongs, rolls a single spacious tone across tiled ridges. Its resonance settles into roof beams, onto rafters, into collarbones, suggesting humility rather than rule. With it comes motion. Shutters slide, well pulleys creak. A broom begins its soft conversation with courtyard stone. We turn toward a communal well where 3 women, hair tucked into indigo cloth, draw water with measured pulls. They speak scarcely above a whisper, yet their murmurs weave gentle accompaniment to rope squeaks and bucket sloshes. One sets her pail aside, straightens, and offers a bow of acknowledgement, not specifically to us, but to the presence of another witness on this common stage of waking. Near the well stands a tofu vendor's cart. Steam billows beneath its canvas roof, carrying soybean fragrance politely along the wind. The vendor himself dozes, seated, chin on chest, hands resting atop bamboo ladle. Beside him, a brass bell waits. He will wake when heat climbs a notch, ring the bell twice, and early customers will gather with lacquer bowls lowered respectfully for ladles of silken curds floating in pale broth. We continue. A charcoal sparrow hops along veranda rail, wings shivering to shed droplets, before aiming beak toward roof eave in search of dormant spiders. The sky shifts from coal to pewter, silhouettes gain edges. Mount Tsukuba's doubled peaks, invisible all night, now dimly declare their shape beyond distant haze. A low door opens and a monk sweeps the street before his tiny sub-temple. He sprinkles water from a dipper, darkening dust and honoring earth spirits in one gesture. Each pass of broom leaves a darker mirror strip behind, reflecting the bloom of day's first light.
We pause a breath away to avoid muddling the still wet path. He bows, a movement small yet galaxies deep, and murmurs, "Ohayo gozaimasu." His voice is a reed flute at the edge of hearing. We return the bow, speaking no word, lest sound tear the fragile tissue of dawn. Wind from the bay arrives, salty, nudging paper kites hung indoors to dry. They rustle faintly, as if impatient for festivals months ahead. Smoke curls escalate from kitchen vents, horizontal at first, then lifting as warm air asserts. Somewhere, a kettle lid clatters. The city exhales long, the way a sleeper sighs before opening eyes. We reach a rise overlooking flooded rice paddies beyond city fringe. Water mirrors the valley's graying sky so precisely that horizon dissolves, and we stand between two chambers of the same light. The first shard of sun pierces cloud, copper bright, an ink stick flash along pooled ink, and rice seedlings flash emerald for half a heartbeat before light softens to pink. Roosters fall silent, having kept their promise. Crickets hide from brightening prospects. The hush that holds this moment is the hush of a page between chapters, ink yet to touch, but inevitable. We draw a breath deep into belly, tasting dew, smoke, miso, bay salt, all braided into one inhale. Then release.
Dawn has barely unfurled her pale sleeve when the Sensō-ji compound, resting on Edo's northeastern edge, comes alive with low, measured bustle. Lanterns, now extinguished, hang like sleepy eyes beneath the crimson eaves of Kaminarimon Gate, while the giant paper thunder lantern above the threshold still frowns in perpetual warning of capricious storm gods. Yet the mood beneath is anything but fearful. Vendors roll pine-slatted carts into position, tatami mats slap the ground, and early pilgrims file in, sandals whispering over worn stone. We meet the day at the Chodzuya ablution fountain. Stone dragons pour water from open maws, worshippers lift bamboo ladles, rinsing first left hand, then right, then pooling a sip to cleanse lips. The ritual is unhurried, breaths white in cool air. When our turn arrives, water chills the palms, yet leaves behind a glow as though embers briefly kissed the skin. Purity's paradox sitting happily beside sensation. Beyond the fountain, the market street Nakamisedori stretches like a gently curving spine toward the main hall. Stalls bloom on either side, their oiled paper awnings still beaded with the last of night's rain. The first fragrances reach us before we have taken 3 steps. Roasted chestnuts tumbling in iron drums, sesame crackers sizzling on a lattice griddle, and the sweet earthy curl of red bean steam puffing from ningyoyaki, doll-shaped cakes. Vendors speak just above murmurs, voices ruffling the hush rather than breaking it. We pause where a potter arranges newly fired incense burners, miniature pagodas glazed the soft celadon of dawn-lit jade. He brushes each roof with a cloth, coaxing a quiet gleam, and bows when our shadow falls across his mat. No words need trading. Appreciation in stillness is coin enough. A step farther, a woman sets out strings of kusudama sachets, tiny brocade spheres sewn with chrysanthemum petals and clove, believed to keep summer fevers at bay, even in autumn's embrace. She lifts one to her nose, inhales, and smiles at some private memory. Louder now, low drums thud beyond the final row of stalls. Taisuke and Rin, itinerant taiko drummers, have begun their morning set beneath the ginkgo that shades the outer courtyard.
Their mallets rise, pause, and then descend on taut cowhide, sending vibrations through flagstones into souls. Yet they play softly, an echo of festival thunder cut to bedroom volume, so as not to disturb prayers. The rhythm slips between vendor cries, weaving a low undercurrent that steadies footfall and heart rate alike. We reach the incense brazier, whose smoke mushrooms upward, fragrant with sandalwood and frankincense carried from Nagasaki trade ships. Pilgrims sweep the smoke toward hair, shoulders, aching hips, coaxing healing into sinew. We follow, drawing the gray plume over crown of head. The warmth is immediate, scent earthy sweet, and mind unclenches another notch. Inside the main hall, tatami runners hush every step. A monk in saffron robes wipes the polished railing around the offertory box, each pass deliberate, his cloth releasing faint citrus oil to greet coming waves of hands and copper coins. We stand just behind the lintel, no need to crowd the altar, and watch incense threads coil around the golden statue of Kannon, unseen yet believed. Somewhere in the rafters, a dove stirs, feathers rustling like a turning page. Leaving the hall, we join a trickle of pilgrims moving clockwise around the 5-storied pagoda. Sunlight spears through tiered eaves, landing on faces like benediction. Bells strung beneath corners chime when touched by the gentlest draught, a reminder that even stone and timber breathe given enough centuries. Breakfast calls in the form of oshiruko, warm sweet bean soup served by an elderly man whose stall folds open like a puzzle box near the temple's side gate. He ladles the thick crimson brew into shallow lacquer bowls, adds 2 grilled mochi that sigh as they touch the surface, then slides the bowls forward with hands knotted by time but steady as river rocks. We sit on a narrow bench. Steam fogs lashes. The first sip rolls across tongue, equal parts earth and starshine, comforting as a childhood lullaby hummed in another room. When bowl bottoms show their polished black, we stand to return them. The vendor bows once, palm pressed lightly to heart. Behind him, incense smoke glides on the newborn breeze, dissolving into azure now clearing of cloud. As we exit the temple precinct, nakamise stalls grow busier, yet conversation remains hushed, as though the freshest light insists on courtesy. One vendor flips a wooden sign from kurae to iro-iro, from preparations to open for trade. Another wipes dew from a display of painted hairpins, each lacquer blossom catching the sun in mirrored petals. The day's pulse quickens, but its beat is still slow enough to cradle drowsy minds. We pause at Hozomon Gate, a crimson sentry holding guardian sandals taller than any man, and glance back. Incense smolders, drums whisper, doves circle, smoke rises. The scene folds into memory like a silk handkerchief placed carefully in sleeve, scented faintly with chestnut and cedar.
Chapter 11. Copyist's Hall, the scent of fresh ink. A short walk westward, beyond the merchant's quarter, stands a modest wooden hall where government clerks and freelance scribes ply their quiet craft. Signs advertise services in precise kaisho script, birth registers copied, love letters revised, poems rendered in courthand. The door remains half open, day's invitation to words, and the interior hum is softer than bee wings. We slip inside. Immediately, the nose greets sumi ink, that unique mingling of pine soot, binder gum, and damp mulberry ash ground moments ago on slate.
The room's long desk runs beneath a row of high windows. Each panel of glass holds dew turned to prism, spilling mild rainbows over neat paper stacks. 10 scribes sit seiza, back straight but relaxed. Their sleeves are tied at elbow with white cord so fabric will not brush fresh characters. Brushes rise, pause, descend. Each stroke lands with a sound like a soft footstep on snow. The thickest strokes absorb light, becoming blacker than shadow. Finer hairs taper to whispers, thinner than a cricket leg. On the wall, a time board marks hours with sliding beads, but few look up. Ink's flow is clock enough. A clerk gestures that we may observe from a tatami at rear. We kneel, careful not to creak floorboards. Ahead, a scribe completes a marriage contract. He mixes vermilion with a silver spoon, adds a drop of sake for gloss, then stamps the groom's family crest in one clean motion, sun rising above waves. The red seal halos a column of midnight kanji like dawn around dark mountain peaks. To our left, a younger copyist transcribes hokku onto narrow tanzaku strips. His breath slows on every cut-line break, 5, 7, 5, and he waits a 2-heartbeat space before inking each concluding syllable, as though inviting silence to finish the poem before the brush does. Beside him, a jar of lilies lends a faint sweetness that competes gently with ink's tang. Wind slides a window panel half-inch open. A lone maple leaf, liberated during the night rain, floats inside and settles on an empty blotting paper pad. No one moves to remove it. The leaf belongs to the script of mourning now. After some time we stand, bowing thanks. A senior scribe dips his brush, draws quickly on a scrap, and hands it to us. One kanji, bold yet soft at edges. 2. On. Calm. Ink still glistens. We cradle it, palms up, while it dries, carrying the word like a fragile lamp. Outside, the rhythmic scratch of brushes follows, echoing even after the door slides shut. We cross the threshold, feeling as though inner thoughts have been re-inked, clearer, darker, more deliberate. A kitchen alley around the corner offers mid-morning broth. We take a small cup, broth thin and pale, tasting of kelp and barley, the perfect counterpoint to Sumi's lingering tang. With each sip, the kanji scrap warms between fingertips, its black gentle heat beside the steaming surface of soup. When the cup is empty, we slip the paper into sleeve pocket, ink facing in so the character quiets our pulse rather than boasts to the street. The sun climbs, shadows retreat inside eaves. Edo bustles now, porters calling warnings, shop shutters hitting stops, roosters surprised by their irrelevance. Yet an undertone of stillness remains, braided through sound like a slow flute beneath festival drums. We follow that undertone south toward the curve of a canal newly bright with daylight.
Last chapter. Folding the day's fan. The canal mirrors a sky scrubbed clean by rain, its water a molten pewter stroked here and there by the passage of barges hauling casks of soy, bales of rice, bundles of cedar. Footbridges leap the water in gentle arcs, each railing wearing beads of moisture that refract the returning sun. We cross one such bridge, pausing at the arch's crest. From here, Edo's layers arrange themselves like a painted screen opened just enough for viewing. Temple rooftops in gray sawtooth silhouette, market flags fluttering with carp designs, thread-thin wisp of incense above Sensō-ji, distant fire tower with watchmen now pacing post. The city is awake, yet our eyes half close, comforted by the knowledge that everything we witnessed in hush persists beneath the noise like river under ice. We reach into sleeve and withdraw the copyist's kanji. Black ink has dried to matte velvet. We hold it against sky. Strokes intersect clouds, turning white vapor into continuation of line. Calm is not the absence of activity, it is the clear outline around each gesture. We breathe, letting chest rise, pause, and settle. Wind lifts the paper. We release it. The kanji flutters down, lands on canal water, flows away. A traveling blessing, message in plain sight, yet written for whoever chooses to look. Steps carry us off the bridge, onto a lane we know will rejoin the bustle of Nihonbashi. But before sound swells, we linger at a wayside shrine no larger than a child's cupboard. Cedar walls, stone fox guardians, a bell rope of rice straw. We bow, pull the rope. The bell inside answers with a single soft chime. Vibrating bronze, singing a note that will outlive morning clamor, perhaps even outlive the day. For a moment, return feels premature, so we close eyes and replay lanterns, river mirrors, rain whispers, brush strokes, rooster crows. Each memory a slat in a folding fan. One by one, they hinge together until the night and morning form a complete circle. We imagine folding that fan, slipping it behind obi or belt where it will stay warm against the heart, ready to open whenever stillness calls. A final breath. Step forward. City noise approaches but seems less jagged, more rhythmic, as though shaped by the quiet we carry. Whatever hours lie ahead, trade, talk, travel, they will rest atop a foundation laid in moonlight and dawn incense. And when evening arrives once more, Edo's lanterns will glow again, patient as elders, waiting for wandering souls to seek their hush. The journey ends, but also begins anew. Wherever you find yourself, under neon sky or bedroom ceiling, invite a lantern's glow behind closed eyelids. Listen for faint watchman clappers in the distance of thought. Feel the rain brushing paper eaves in your pulse. Calm is always one quiet breath away. Until our next slow walk together, may your steps be measured, your tea warm, your ink true, and your nights gently bright. The fan closes. Rest well.